Hey Reddit. Throwaway account because my brother and his little fan club stalk my main. Let's get into it. So here's the deal, I, 33F, have a brother, Kyle, 36M, who has this knack for turning every minor favor into a long-term expectation. And no, I'm not exaggerating. For years, I've been helping him out temporarily with stuff like groceries, car payments, phone bills, and most consistently, utilities. Not because I'm a saint. Just because I thought that's what family does. You help when someone's down. But what Kyle calls being down has lasted 8 years. The whole mess started when Kyle inherited our grandma's house. Not the full house, it was technically left in a trust, but he was the only one interested in living there, so the rest of the family, including me, agreed to let him take it, under one condition: he had to cover maintenance and taxes. Seemed fair. What he didn't tell us was that he'd be turning the basement and top floor into rental units within 6 months. I found out through his Facebook. Literally saw him post, first tenant moves in next week. Basement suites done. #landlord life. To say I was stunned is an understatement. But okay, I figured, good for him. Maybe now he won't need to lean on me for help every other month. Boy, was I naive. When help becomes a habit. Initially, he asked me to cover internet and electricity for just a couple of months until he got the rental income steady. I said sure. That was in 2019. At first, he'd send me Venmo for the total. Then the payments slowed. Then he started sending partial payments with notes like, "We'll hit you with the rest Friday, folded hands, medium skin tone, or can I owe you next month?" Tenant delayed rent. 1 month turned into 6. Then a year. I started keeping track of what he owed in a spreadsheet. Yes, a literal spreadsheet, because every time I asked for payback, he'd say, "What do you mean? I gave you $80 in March." Yeah, Kyle, and you owed me $212 that month. I should mention, I live in a small 1-bedroom apartment in Sacramento, work full-time in admin at a law firm, and have student loans that are not going away anytime soon. I don't have kids. I don't go on vacations. I don't buy $6 lattes every morning. I budget. I track every cent. So when someone owes me money, I notice. Kyle, on the other hand, acts like Venmoing me $30 every 6 weeks is a massive charitable act. And when I bring up the total he owes, over $2,000 at one point, he either jokes it off or suddenly doesn't respond. But family. Our mom, Teresa, 61F, doesn't like tension. She always says we're all we've got and how money shouldn't come between siblings. Funny how that line only ever gets used when I'm asking to be paid back. Every Thanksgiving, Kyle's got some new gadget. Last year it was an iPad Pro. This year? A PS5. I almost choked on my mashed potatoes. Meanwhile, I'm trying to figure out if I can afford new tires this winter. And he's still asking for a little help covering the heating bill in his house, the same one he now rents out to 2 tenants. The breaking point. Fast forward to February of this year. I'm reviewing my budget and realize that between groceries for mom, paying my half of the rent, and Kyle's utilities, I've spent nearly 20% of my monthly income helping other people. I'm not Mother Teresa. I'm a woman with bills. So I sent Kyle a very polite but direct message. I wrote, "Hey Kyle, I've been thinking, and I just can't keep covering your utilities. I've done it for years, and I need to start prioritizing my own financial health. I'm not a bank, and being family doesn't mean debts disappear. I hope you understand." His response? A thumbs up emoji. Then silence. For a few days I thought, maybe he gets it. Maybe this is the start of some boundaries. Again, I was delusional. Because guess what happens next? I get a call from mom, very pointedly asking how my week is going, and then, surprise, drops, "I hear you're upset with Kyle. You know he's really been struggling. Maybe we all just need to calm down." I ask her point blank, "Did Kyle tell you I refuse to keep paying his bills?" She says, "Well, he mentioned that you've been acting like you're above the family lately. Like you think you're in charge of us now." My jaw actually dropped. In charge? I asked. Because I asked to be paid back for 4 years of bills? She sighs. You know that mom sigh where she's not mad, just disappointed you made things uncomfortable for her. You've always been the responsible one, she says. You know how he is. That phrase again. You know how he is. As if Kyle being careless with money is a terminal illness we all need to accommodate. Behind my back. That weekend, I started getting weird silence from the family chat. Normally my cousin Casey sends daily memes, and our Aunt Liz posts Wordle scores like clockwork. Radio silence. I posted a pic of my cat with a "Just Surviving Monday" caption. No likes. Nothing. Then I saw it. Kyle had posted an Instagram story, a black screen with white text saying, "When people forget where they came from and start acting like CEOs of the family. SMH." Followed by face with rolling eyes and money with wings emojis. That was the day I realized, it wasn't just about money. It was about the fact that me pulling back my support had threatened some unspoken role I'd been stuck in for years. The banker. The responsible one. The fallback. And now that I was saying no, I was suddenly selfish. Greedy. Acting better than everyone. I didn't respond. I didn't post a counterstory or call him to argue. I just decided, that's enough. So, after the passive-aggressive Instagram story, I decided to test a theory: what happens if I stop initiating in the family group chat? Turns out, nothing. Our family chat, called The Nest, used to be loud. We're talking daily chaos. Memes, dinner pics, vague book drama, conspiracy videos from Aunt Mona, endless "forward this to 7 people or else" texts from Uncle Ray. But after I said no to paying Kyle's bills, it turned into a cold, echoing cave. At first I told myself it was in my head. Maybe people were just busy. But then I noticed subtle things. Like when cousin Marissa posted a selfie to her Instagram from Aunt Sharon's birthday party, a party I wasn't even told about. I saw my mom in the background, smiling over a cake I didn't know existed. So I texted her. I asked, "Hey, did you all have a party this weekend?" She hit me with, "Oh, it was just something small, last minute. I didn't think you'd want to come with how things have been." How things have been? You mean, me finally setting a boundary? The cherry on top? The week after that, someone, probably Kyle, removed me from the group chat. No message. Just gone. When I opened messages one morning, the nest was missing. Like I'd never existed in it. And that hit different. Uninvited. Unacknowledged. Unbothered? For a minute, I almost doubted myself. I thought maybe I'd gone too far. Maybe I should have just kept covering utilities until he got back on his feet. Then I reminded myself, he's a 36-year-old landlord with 2 tenants. He has a PS5 and a new grill and a Traeger smoker. He is not a struggling college kid eating top ramen and crying into unpaid parking tickets. He just didn't want to pay me back. And the second I decided not to be his invisible piggy bank anymore, I became public enemy number 1. But I'll admit, the birthday thing hurt. My birthday is mid-May. I don't make a big deal out of it. Never have. Usually we do dinner, my mom sends a card, someone in the group texts HB. Party popper birthday cake, and I move on. This year? Radio silence. No texts. No happy birthday Facebook post. No call from mom. Not even a sarcastic meme from Uncle Ray. It wasn't just forgetting. They chose not to say anything. The screenshot that broke it open. 2 days after my birthday, I got a DM on Instagram from my cousin Elise, 28F. She doesn't usually reach out, we've never been that close, but she's always been friendly at gatherings. Her message? Just one screenshot. It was a conversation from the new family group chat, the one they'd created without me. Kyle was in there. So was Mom. Aunt Sharon. Marissa. Even little cousins who never paid attention to anything unless it involved Minecraft or BTS. The message at the top? Kyle. Anyway, I'm done trying. Let her be the ice queen. She made her bed. Just remember who she really is next time she pretends to care. She's not generous, she's just obsessed with control. Followed by mom's reply. It's just sad. She used to be kind. Now she acts like she's too good for us. Then Aunt Sharon chimed in with, some people get a little money and forget what loyalty means. And the worst one? Marissa. She's cold. Honestly, she's cruel. She's not struggling. She just doesn't want to help anymore. Zara's too busy pretending she's a CEO. Cool. So I'm not a person, I'm a villain in a soap opera they made up together. I stared at that screenshot for a long time. I didn't respond to Elise. I just sat there. Stomach in knots. Rage, hurt, disbelief, all of it in a messy swirl. And then I did something I never thought I would do. I deleted the whole thread. Blocked the chat ID. And walked away. No dramatic exit. No, you'll regret this. No grand text storm telling them off. Just silence. Because here's the thing. You can explain yourself 100 times to people who've already decided to misunderstand you. Or you can stop explaining and start protecting your peace. I chose peace. 2 weeks later, the call. It had been about 2 weeks since I ghosted the family chat and quietly mourned the weird death of my birthday. I was sitting on my couch on a Friday night, watching Dead to Me and eating Thai takeout in fuzzy socks, when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Then I saw the transcript. Hey, it's Jackie. Your cousin. I just wanted to say something, if that's okay. Jackie. My second cousin. We used to be tight when we were younger, she's a nurse now, always on weird shifts. I hadn't heard from her in probably a year. I listened to the voicemail. Her voice was low. Kind of tired. She said. Zara, I saw what they did. The group chat. The birthday thing. It wasn't okay. But I wanted to tell you, you're not the only one. I stopped loaning Kyle money 2 years ago. He still owes me $500. And when I told him to stop asking, he told my mom I was emotionally unstable. So yeah, it's not just you. You're just the first one who said it out loud. And I'm glad you did. Call me if you want. Or don't. Just. I wanted you to know you're not crazy. And you're not alone. I sat there for a long time after that. Because damn. That's the thing they never tell you about setting boundaries, it feels lonely as hell at first. But then, sometimes, quietly, someone steps out of the shadows and says, me too. And that means everything. I called Jackie the next morning. She answered on the second ring like she'd been waiting by the phone. Hey, she said, with that weird mix of warmth and nervous energy, like she didn't know if I'd be mad or grateful or both. Hey, I said, trying not to sound like I'd been crying half the night. We started slow. Small talk. Weather. Work. I told her I'd been spending most weekends reorganizing my closet, like a sad Marie Kondo in sweatpants. She laughed, but it was short. Then she said, can I just talk? I've wanted to say this for a long time. I told her to go for it. And oh, she did. The Kyle Chronicles. Turns out I wasn't even Kyle's first family loan target. Jackie lent him $500 in 2022 when he said his car broke down and he couldn't get to work. She said he called her during a night shift, near tears, swearing he'd pay her back the next week. He never did. 3 months later, he posted a selfie from a Giants game with the caption, much needed escape from stress beer mug baseball fire. She commented, glad you could afford tickets. Any chance you can afford to pay me back? The comment vanished in less than 10 minutes. Then Kyle texted her at 1 a.m. that night. Real classy calling me out in public. I'm dealing with real sh*t and you want to act like I'm robbing you. Then he blocked her. I told my mom, Jackie said, and she said, well, maybe you shouldn't have lent him money in the first place. Sound familiar? That phrase had become our family's go-to absolution, you knew what he was like. What did you expect? It's like we were all signing invisible contracts that said, lend Kyle money and lose your right to complain when he disappears. Jackie wasn't the only one. She started naming names. Names I hadn't even considered. Cousin Brian? Loaned Kyle $1,200 for home renovations and got ghosted after 2 partial payments. Aunt Mona? Bought him groceries as a favor for 2 months, then got cut off when she asked if he could start picking up his own milk. Uncle Ray? He gave Kyle his old lawnmower, then got called toxic after asking if Kyle could return it once he moved to a smaller place without a yard. Everyone had a story. Everyone had been burned. And none of them talked about it, because Kyle had a weapon none of us did. The loyalty card. He always makes it about betrayal, Jackie said. Like, if you say no, you don't love him anymore. You're abandoning him. I felt that in my spine. That's exactly what Mom had implied. That by setting a boundary, I'd declared war. That being the responsible one meant I had to be endlessly available. And what's worse? Everyone else seemed to buy into it. The price of being good. It's funny. For years I wore this badge like I was proud of it, the good kid. The stable one. The one Mom could brag about to her church friends. Zara has a job. Zara pays her rent on time. Zara doesn't have any baby daddies or DUIs. But being the good one came with a catch: you get nothing back, and no room to ever stop giving. Because once people get used to you being dependable, your needs become an inconvenience. They praise your strength, but they never ask if you're tired. They admire your responsibility, but they expect your wallet to be open on demand. And when you finally say, no, not this time, they don't say thank you for all the years you helped. They say, you've changed. Redefining the nest. Jackie and I talked for over an hour. She told me she was thinking of making a separate group chat with just the real ones. Not even to talk trash, she said. Just to have a place where we're not punished for having limits. I laughed, but it was that bitter kind of laugh that comes out when you've been holding something in for too long. Do we even have enough people for that? I asked. More than you think, she said. Some of them are scared to speak up. But they've all seen what happens when they do. By the end of the call, I realized something. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't greedy. I was just done. Done pretending that I was fine covering for someone else's bad habits. Done letting guilt be a leash. Done buying loyalty with Venmo transactions. And maybe, just maybe, being the bad guy in one family's story was worth finally being the main character in my own. The final straw? Or just the start? That night, I opened my spreadsheet. The one where I'd tracked everything Kyle owed me. I looked at the totals. The dates. The notes. The little question marks next to unpaid, again? Then I did something I thought I'd never do. I deleted it. All of it. Because I realized I wasn't going to get it back. Not the money. Not the apologies. Not the you were right. Not the birthday calls. Not the group chat. None of it. I could keep carrying the receipt forever, or I could drop it and walk away. Not because Kyle deserved forgiveness, but because I deserved freedom. That spreadsheet wasn't a record of debt anymore. It was a tombstone. So I closed the laptop. Turned on my favorite playlist. Ordered Thai again, because hell yes, I deserve Pad See Ew 2 nights in a row. And texted Jackie. Thanks for calling. Let me know when you build that new group chat. I'll bring the memes. She replied in under 10 seconds. You're in. First rule, no guilt tripping, no fake vibes, and definitely no Kyle. It started with a meme. Jackie sent it to the new group chat 2 days after we spoke. A blurry photo of Kermit the Frog with the caption. Me watching drama unfold after minding my business for once. Underneath it, she wrote. Welcome to the real nest. There were 6 people in the chat at first: Jackie, me, Brian, the cousin Kyle owed $1,200, Elise, the one who sent me the screenshot, Brian's younger sister Leah, and a wildcard addition, cousin Valerie, who I hadn't seen or talked to in maybe 5 years. Valerie was the kind of cousin who always seemed half in, half out of family life. She didn't show up for holidays. Didn't post baby pictures or birthday tributes. Nobody really talked about her, which now made perfect sense. Her first message in the new group was, "I was wondering when someone would finally say it out loud. I've been done with them for years." And with that, the floodgates opened. The confession thread. One by one, people started sharing their Kyle horror stories. Brian talked about how Kyle guilted him into a loan to cover property taxes, then spent the money on new tires and some gaming chair for his back. When Brian asked for repayment, Kyle told him, "You make more than me. Why are you being petty?" Leah said Kyle once borrowed her car to go to a job interview and used it to pick up a girl for a weekend trip to Tahoe. She only found out because he forgot to log out of his Instagram on her phone. Valerie's story was the darkest. "He asked to stay with me for 2 nights after his power got shut off. He stayed for 3 months. Didn't pay rent. Smoked inside. Left my front door unlocked more than once. I finally told him to leave, and he called my ex to tell him I was mentally unstable. He tried to get custody of my cat out of spite." A cat. Everyone was typing. You could feel the release pouring out like steam from a pressure valve. All of us, we weren't just venting. We were deprogramming. Because for so long, we'd each thought we were the only ones who got used, manipulated, guilt-tripped, and discarded. We each thought we had failed. That we were too harsh, too sensitive, too unforgiving. But it wasn't us. It was the system. The family loyalty cult. That's what Jackie called it. And she wasn't wrong. Because that's what it felt like. A closed loop where Kyle's behavior was always forgiven, and our reactions were always policed. The rules were clear. If you gave money, you were kind. If you asked for it back, you were selfish. If you confronted him, you were mean. If you stayed quiet, you were a good sibling/cousin/niece. And if you left, you were dead to them. Literally. Valerie said she hasn't been invited to a single family event since she kicked Kyle out. No Christmas cards. No invites. No texts. It's like she stopped existing the second she said enough. Sound familiar? The meme revolution. We didn't plan to make the new chat a rebellion zone. But that's what it became. Every day, someone posted something that would have gotten them roasted or frozen out in the old group. Elise sent a tweet that said, "Cutting off toxic family doesn't make you heartless. It makes you finally honest." Brian renamed the chat, The Real Nest, now with boundaries. I posted a screenshot of my calendar that showed Treat Yourself Day scheduled for Saturday, with the caption, "No one else is gonna celebrate me. So I will." They all responded with heart emojis, gifs, fire reactions. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something I hadn't felt from my family in years. Scene. The real fallout begins. But of course, things couldn't stay secret forever. A week after the real nest was born, Jackie texted us. "Just got a call from Aunt Mona. Apparently the main chat found out we made a separate group." We all braced. Aunt Mona, it turned out, had caught wind because Valerie's little sister, who was still in the main group, had mentioned something offhand about Zara's side group. Kyle flipped out. According to Mona, who, despite her chain email energy, is weirdly observant, Kyle said, "This is how cults start. They're just bitter rejects. They need to stop poisoning the family." Poisoning. The irony was delicious. Mom didn't call. Of course not. But Jackie said she posted a long, vague message in the main chat about disrespect, family division, and spreading negativity. Marissa commented under it with, "Some people would rather be right than be kind." I wasn't even there, and I could feel it in my bones, the martyr energy, the victim halo, the smugness of people who haven't realized that the thing they're protecting is built on everyone else staying silent. And I didn't care anymore. Zara 2.0. I spent that weekend like a woman newly released from a decades-long subscription to guilt. I cleaned my apartment while blasting 2000s R&B. I got my nails done neon red. I posted a selfie on Instagram with the caption, "Thriving in exile, smiling face with sunglasses, victory hand." No subtext. No apology. Just vibes. Jackie commented, queen of cutting toxicity and slaying. Leah said, my role model. I smiled so hard I almost dropped my phone. And then came the DM. Sunday night. 11:42 p.m. A message popped up in my inbox from an unexpected name. Marissa. I stared at it. Didn't open it right away. The preview showed only 2 words. Can we talk? I didn't answer right away. In fact, I stared at Marissa's message for a solid 5 minutes, just watching the typing indicator pop up and disappear like it was playing emotional peekaboo. Can we talk? That's all she'd said. No punctuation. No context. No apology. Classic Marissa. If Kyle was the family's golden boy with a martyr complex, Marissa was the crown princess of performative empathy. The kind who cried during Disney movies, donated to online fundraisers, and then gossiped about the person's poor decisions in a group chat 30 seconds later. She'd always played Switzerland in family fights. Neutral. Above the drama. That is, until it benefited her to pick a side. And lately? She'd been riding hard for Kyle. The birthday silence. The cruel CEO comment in the group chat. The passive-aggressive posts. So what was this? Curiosity? Spying? A genuine olive branch? I waited 10 more minutes. Then opened the message. Marissa. Hey. I just wanted to ask what's really going on. I feel like everyone's talking around the issue. I didn't realize how deep it had gotten between you and Kyle. That made me laugh out loud. Gotten deep like we were 2 ex-lovers in a romantic tragedy, not a grown-ass man who owed me thousands and smeared my name to our entire family. Still. I replied. Me. It's not deep. I just stopped paying his bills. 2 minutes later. Marissa. Wait. You were paying his bills? Like, regularly? Now that was interesting. I realized then, most of the main chat didn't even know. They'd assumed I'd randomly turned cold, pulled rank, gone corporate in spirit. But the actual financial context? Kyle had left that out. Of course he did. So I told her. Not everything. Just the broad strokes. For years of me covering internet, electric, water bills while he played landlord. Spotty Venmos. Broken promises. Mom saying, you know how he is. She read it all in silence. Then finally. Marissa. Holy sh*T. Marissa. I thought you just got mad over something petty. That's how Kyle made it sound. Like you were mad because he forgot to say thank you or something. Me. Oh, he said thank you. Just not the money. She didn't respond for a bit. I figured that was the end of it. Then she sent one more thing. Marissa. I think you're right. We've all been enabling him. I just didn't want to see it. Because it was easier to believe you were being dramatic than to admit I ignored it for years. I wasn't sure what to say to that. It wasn't an apology exactly, more like the first tremor before the guilt quake. But something about it did feel genuine. And the timing? I found out the next day it wasn't random. The unraveling begins. Jackie called me the following evening, half whispering like she was passing secret intel. Marissa reached out to me, she said. She what? Yeah. Said she wants to join the real nest. I nearly dropped my phone. Did you let her in? Jackie hesitated. I told her it's not up to me. I said it had to be unanimous. But I think she's actually seeing the cracks now. Apparently, after I told Marissa about the money, she asked Kyle point-blank in the family chat, did Zara really pay your bills for years? His reply? Why does it matter? She offered. Nobody forced her. No denial. No accountability. Just that smug pivot that made you feel dumb for even asking. When she pressed him again, he left the chat. The loyalty Jenga tower wobbles. Once Kyle bailed, the chat went weirdly silent. Mom tried to regain control, throwing out vague platitudes like "we all make mistakes and let's just move forward," but the damage was done. People started asking questions. Elisa's mom. Brian's dad. Even Aunt Mona. Jackie said the main chat felt like a sinking cruise ship, all fake cheer and veiled panic. "The vibe is off," she said. "You can smell the loyalty rot." It was almost funny. All I'd done was say no. No screaming. No confrontation. No scorched earth revenge plot. Just a clear boundary and silence. And that was enough to create tremors in a decades-old ecosystem built on quiet compliance. The real nest expands. We voted. Marissa was added. People were cautious at first, especially Valerie, who posted, "If this turns into a therapy circle for Kyle's PR recovery, I'm out." But Marissa surprised us. Her first post was a long message. "I spent a lot of time believing that being quiet made me neutral. That avoiding conflict made me mature. But I realize now. I was just protecting myself from being Kyle's next target. And I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner." "You were right, Zara. I just wasn't ready to admit it. I didn't say much. I just reacted with emoji. Not because I forgave her completely. But because I knew how heavy that first honest message can be, the one that says, 'I believed the wrong people.'" Mom reaches out. It was subtle. No big call. No text titled, "We need to talk." Just a forwarded meme one Tuesday afternoon. A cat sitting in a salad bowl with the caption, "Trying to eat healthy but still being trash." No message. No follow-up. Just that. I stared at it for 5 minutes. Was it a peace offering? An accidental send? Or some weird mom code for "I'm still watching you but not ready to admit I was wrong"? I didn't reply. Not because I was angry. But because I'd realized something important. I wasn't waiting anymore. Not for apologies. Not for invitations. Not for my mom to understand me. Not for Kyle to change. I'd spent years investing in a family system that ran on emotional IOUs and guilt inflation. Now, I was finally cashing out. And the return? Was clarity. The closing of one door. That week, I got a Facebook memory, a photo from 5 years ago of me and Kyle, standing in front of Grandma's old house. He had his arm around my shoulder. I was smiling. He had just asked me if I could cover the power bill until Friday. It felt like looking at a ghost. I didn't delete it. But I archived it. Quietly. Like closing the drawer on a chapter that no longer needed to stay open. Because here's what I know now. Sometimes, the healthiest thing you can do is become the villain in someone else's survival story. Because maybe, just maybe, you're finally becoming the hero in your own. The call came on a Wednesday night. I just finished doing my nails, a dark forest green, my new comfort color, and was halfway through a true crime podcast when my phone rang. MOM. 8:43 p.m. Incoming call. I stared at it. She hadn't called since February. The last time we spoke was right after I told Kyle I wouldn't be covering utilities anymore, and she gently suggested I was losing compassion. So yeah, this wasn't just a casual catch-up. Still. I answered. "Hi, Mom." Silence. A breath. Then. "Hi, sweetheart." Her voice was soft. Tentative. Like she wasn't sure if she still had permission to use that word. "Got a minute?" I sighed. "Sure." The script of guilt. We made small talk at first. Weather. Work. She asked if I was still doing that office job, as if I'd suddenly become a trapeze artist or barista without notice. Then came the shift. "You know," she said, "I've been thinking about everything that's happened." I waited. I didn't realize it had gone on for that long, with Kyle. The money. The bills. I thought you were just helping him out once in a while. I didn't say anything. Not because I didn't have thoughts, but because I was bracing for the but. There's always a but. And here it came. "But he's still your brother." And I just hope you don't let all this bitterness eat at you. There it was. Not a full apology. Not an acknowledgement. Just a reframe. Kyle is struggling. You're bitter. The roles never change, only the vocabulary. I took a breath. Mom, I'm not bitter, I said, calm but flat. I'm just not available for him anymore. She sighed. I know it's hard, Zara. I know you're tired. But I just don't want this family to fall apart. I bit back the first 6 things I wanted to say. Like how the family didn't fall apart when Kyle stole money, lied, vanished, or played us all like a fiddle. It only fell apart when someone stopped playing along. Instead, I said. Then maybe the family shouldn't depend on one person keeping it together. She didn't respond. Not with anger. Not with tears. Just silence. Eventually, she mumbled something about missing me, said she hoped we could get back to normal, and hung up. I stared at the screen for a while after. Back to normal. What even was that? Years of being the unpaid accountant and therapist for people who never once asked how I was doing. Years of being praised as mature only because I never made waves? Yeah, no thanks. If silence is the price of peace, I'll pay it in full. Kyle resurfaces. It happened 3 days later. Brian messaged the Real Nest group. Kyle's back on Facebook. And he's vague posting again. Buckle up. I checked. Sure enough, Kyle had posted a black and white photo of himself looking off into the distance. Captioned. When people turn their backs, just remember, loyalty isn't loud. It's consistent. Victory hand medium skin tone. The comments were a mix of people from his friend circle saying things like facts bro raising hands medium skin tone and keep your head up, king. But one comment stood out. It was from Aunt Sharon. We're still here for you. Not everyone has forgotten where they came from. And beneath that, Mom liked it. I didn't message her. I didn't say anything at all. But the tightness in my chest said everything. She'd said she wanted things to get back to normal. But it looked more like she just wanted me to forgive quietly so Kyle didn't have to change. Because in our family, peace never meant resolution, it meant silencing the person who was hurt. The private message. Later that night, I got a DM from a name I didn't expect. Kyle. I stared at it for a full minute. The preview read. Can we talk for a second? Just once. I clicked it. Against my better judgment. The message was long. Too long for him to have typed it in the moment. It had been crafted. Zara, I know things are tense right now. I never wanted it to get this ugly between us. I didn't realize how much stress you were under. I just thought we were helping each other, like family's supposed to. If I crossed a line, I'm sorry. But I still think we could have handled this without turning everyone against each other. This wasn't the way. I didn't deserve to be made into a villain for being broke. There it was again. Not sorry for what he did. Sorry I made it public. Sorry I turned people against him. Like he hadn't spent weeks painting me as a greedy tyrant to the rest of the family. I didn't reply. I didn't have to. Because this wasn't accountability, it was PR damage control. The empire had cracked. The villagers were revolting. He just wanted to get in front of the next leak. And then, the message that hit different. The next morning, I woke up to a new Real Nest post. Marissa again. She wrote. My mom said Kyle's trying to organize a family mediation dinner. Inviting only people who haven't blocked him. Brian commented, tell him to meditate with his landlord tenants. Valerie, I'm not paying $40 for a meal just to be gaslit. Then Jackie said. Z, what do you want to do? And I paused. Because that was the first time anyone in the family, even this new one, had asked me that. Not what should we do, or how do we fix this, but what do you want? And for the first time in a long time, I had an answer. I thought about ignoring the dinner invite. I really did. When Marissa told us Kyle was organizing a peaceful family mediation meal, I almost laughed hard enough to pull something in my neck. The idea of Kyle, the man who once rage deleted Jackie from Snapchat over a "you still owe me" meme, now playing the role of family mediator? Peak satire. But Jackie made a point. If you go, you take back the narrative. You don't have to scream. You don't have to perform. Just show up. Let them see you're not ashamed. Let them squirm in their assumptions. I didn't answer right away. But a few days later, I got a formal text from Kyle. First time in months. Kyle. Dinner at Mom's this Sunday at 6. Everyone's invited. Just a chance to talk like adults. Everyone didn't include the real Nest crew, of course. Just the core family. The one still orbiting Kyle's version of reality. But I said yes. Because I wasn't afraid of him anymore. Not of his tantrums, not of his smear campaigns, not of his mother-approved excuses. And because some truths deserved to be spoken in the room. The setup. When I arrived, Mom's house was already full of the usual tension: perfume, scented candles, crockpot chili, and barely concealed resentment. The dining table was too clean. The kind of spotless that screams we scrubbed the guilt into the grout. Mom hugged me, stiffly. Aunt Sharon nodded like a senator. Kyle stood near the fridge in a crisp shirt I hadn't seen since Grandma's funeral. Even the lasagna looked nervous. Glad you could make it, Mom said, already wringing her hands like prayer beads. I'm here, I replied. We sat down. The first few minutes were filled with empty chatter. Kyle asked how work was. I told him, consistent, which is my new way of saying I don't owe you details anymore. Then Kyle cleared his throat, stood up slightly, and tapped his glass with a spoon. Real TV drama energy. I just wanted to say thanks to everyone for being here, he started. I know there's been a lot of tension. A lot of confusion. Not deceit. Not manipulation. Just confusion. We're family, he continued. And I think we've let outside voices twist that. People who weren't even involved stirring up drama and division. I knew what this was, a subtle swipe at the real Nest crew. Especially Marissa, who, by some divine twist of fate, had also decided to attend. She sat across from me, face neutral, phone tucked tightly in her hand. Kyle kept going. I never meant to hurt anyone. But I do think there's been a lot of exaggeration. And it would mean a lot if we could all just forgive and move forward. Everyone looked at me. Literally every eye in the room shifted to me, like this was my moment to perform forgiveness, like it was a Broadway encore. I let the silence stretch. Then I spoke. The reckoning. I appreciate the invitation, I began, tone calm but firm. But I'm not here to pretend nothing happened. Kyle flinched slightly, not at my words, but at the tone. Calm always unsettles people who are used to drama as distraction. For years, I helped you financially, I continued. Covered bills. Gave time. Gave support. And when I finally asked you to return even part of that, you didn't just ignore me. You weaponized the family against me. You called me controlling. You let people call me cruel. All because I set a boundary. Mom looked like she wanted to vanish into the mashed potatoes. Aunt Sharon opened her mouth, then shut it again. But the worst part? I said, looking directly at Kyle now. You didn't just lie about the money. You made me out to be the villain so you could keep being the victim. And I'm done participating in that story. Kyle swallowed, hard. Zara. No. You had your version. I've been quiet long enough. You said your piece. Now you'll listen. I turned slightly to the others. None of this is about one bill. Or one favor. It's about a pattern. One that everyone here either enabled or ignored. And I'm not here to ask for apologies. I'm just here to make one thing clear, I'm not responsible for this family's emotional debt. Not anymore. The room was so quiet I could hear the chili bubbling. Marissa, bless her quiet rebellion, was the one who finally broke the silence. She's not wrong, she said. Voice low, but firm. We all let it happen. I did too. Mom blinked like she couldn't quite process that her sweet niece had defected. She's right, Marissa repeated. We all knew how Kyle operated. We just didn't want to deal with the fallout of saying no. Kyle cracks. That's when it happened. Kyle stood up, face flushed. Oh, come on, he snapped. This is ridiculous. You think you're all better than me now? Because you got your little clique of boundary warriors? You're not heroes. You're just bitter. You're done, I finished, rising to my feet. He froze. I grabbed my coat, slung it over my arm, and looked directly at Mom. I love you. But I'm not staying in systems that punish honesty. You want peace, Mom? Peace takes truth. Not silence. Then I turned and walked out. No tears. No dramatics. No look back. Just the quiet thunder of leaving on my terms. The fallout. The next morning, my phone lit up. A text from Marissa. After you left, Kyle left too. Red in the face. Said he was done. Aunt Sharon tried to guilt trip me, but I wasn't having it. Mom said nothing. Then another one, from Jackie. Aunt Mona called me this morning. Asked what really happened. I told her everything. For the first time, she believed me. The dominoes are falling. Then, believe it or not, one from Mom. I'm thinking about everything you said. I don't have the words yet. But I'm listening. No promises. No fixing. Just a shift. And sometimes, that's more than enough. Because power doesn't always show up as fireworks. Sometimes it's a whisper. A calm refusal. A seat left empty at the table where you were once expected to serve. Sometimes, it's walking away, and being followed by your echo. It's been a month since the dinner. 30 days since I stood up, said the truth out loud, and walked out without waiting for applause or understanding. And here's the most unexpected part of all. Nothing exploded. The world didn't end. No lightning struck. No biblical plagues arrived to punish the disloyal daughter. But, things changed. Quietly. Deliberately. And, in a way, permanently. Mom never called again, but she wrote. Exactly 11 days after the dinner, I got a letter in the mail. A real one. Paper, envelope, the whole thing. Mom's tight cursive handwriting across the front. Inside, 3 pages. The first paragraph was the usual preamble. I've been doing a lot of thinking, it's taken me a while to process, etc. But then came something real. She wrote. I don't think I understood how much I've leaned on you. Not just with money. But with expectations. You became the glue because it was easier than fixing what was actually broken. I let Kyle get away with things because I didn't want to believe the worst in him, and I put the burden of balance on you. I didn't mean to. But I did. She didn't ask me to forgive her. She didn't beg for contact. She just acknowledged. And that was more than I ever expected. At the bottom, she wrote. You deserve peace that doesn't cost your silence. It was underlined. I folded the letter carefully and put it in my dresser drawer. Not as a keepsake of pain, but as a marker. Like planting a flag in new soil. This is where the story turns. The real nest grows feathers. Meanwhile, the real nest was thriving. We added new members, not just cousins, but adjacent friends who had quietly distanced from the family over the years for similar reasons. People I hadn't talked to in ages who sent me DMs like, I thought I was the only one. Or, you don't know me that well, but I just want to say thank you. For saying it first. One night, Jackie said something that stuck with me. We were never the problem. We were just the ones who stopped pretending. Our group chat became something else entirely. Not just a haven, but a rebuilding zone. A space to reshape what family could mean, without the fear tax attached. We started planning a Friendsgiving. Potluck style. Valerie's bringing sangria. Marissa's in charge of playlists. Brian made a shared spreadsheet that rivals any NFL draft chart. And I'm hosting. Yeah. Me. The girl who used to get left out of birthdays is now hosting her own damn table. Not out of spite. Not to compete. but because I finally realized I'm allowed to build what I never got. With people who see me, not for what I can give, but for who I am. And Kyle? Oh, he's still around. Last I heard, he's down one tenant and tried to pitch a startup idea to a cousin who politely declined and then blocked him. He's back to his usual cycle, vague posting, pity jogging, occasionally texting mom to remind her that he's the real victim. But I don't feel angry anymore. Not because he changed, but because I did. He doesn't live in my head rent-free now. He's just a person who made choices. And I made mine. The birthday that actually happened. This is maybe the part that hits hardest. Because a few weeks ago, Jackie showed up at my apartment on a random Saturday with a cupcake box and said, "We missed your birthday. We're fixing that." Inside the box? 7 cupcakes, one for each missed year, according to her, with different toppings. One even had my name spelled in tiny chocolate letters. I didn't cry until later, after she left. When I realized, people will show up when you stop making room for those who never do. Not out of karma. Not out of revenge. But because the space you clear by walking away from what drains you. That's where the real ones find you. So, am I the aholi? I still think about that sometimes. The core question. Was I the asshole for refusing to pay Kyle's bills? For walking away from the family group chat? For saying enough and not cushioning it with apologies? Here's my answer now. No. I was the first one who stopped bleeding quietly. I was the first one who turned the lights on and said, "Hey. This hurts." And maybe that made people uncomfortable. Maybe it broke the illusion. But I'm okay with that. Because survival in silence is not the same as peace. And people-pleasing isn't a moral virtue, it's a leash. My peace didn't come when I was forgiven. It came when I no longer needed permission. Final notes. If you're reading this and you're someone who's always been the strong one, the reliable one, the one who carries the emotional and financial debt of everyone else while pretending it doesn't hurt, I hope you know. You're allowed to stop. You're allowed to walk away from the dinner table and still eat well somewhere else. You're allowed to say no, without a dissertation. You're allowed to be loved without performing. Family is not blood. Family is the people who don't make you bleed to prove it. And if no one tells you happy birthday next year, buy the damn cake yourself. Light the candles. And invite people who know how to clap for you.